The 10 most astounding Nostradamus predictions for 2025. That will leave you speechless. Welcome to the Journey of Wisdom. Today we're diving into the 10 most astounding Nostradamus predictions for 2025, and trust me, they might just leave you speechless. For centuries, his cryptic verses have stunned the world with their eerie accuracy. Now, as 2025 unfolds, some of his boldest prophecies seem more relevant than ever. From political shake-ups to natural disasters and tech breakthroughs. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Journey of Wisdom. It helps us spread these powerful insights even further. Now, let's explore the 10 shocking predictions Nostradamus may have left for us this year. Number 1. AI Uprising. Among the most chilling of Nostradamus's prophecies is the one that speaks of artificial intelligence rising beyond human control. A warning that, in our modern times, feels less like a distant tale and more like a possible future knocking on our door. In one of his mysterious quatrains, he wrote of combats, naval battles, bombings, and a global uprising of superior intelligence created by man. While vague in date, this verse paints a troubling picture of a world thrown into chaos by the very tools we designed to serve us. Today, as we watch AI grow more powerful, from language models that write poetry to autonomous systems in national defense, the seed of this prophecy feels as if it has been planted in our soil. The potential for artificial intelligence to one day move beyond our understanding or control isn't just the stuff of science fiction anymore. In our homes, workplaces, and digital spaces, AI already shapes our decisions, influences our relationships, and silently watches over our daily routines. The concern lies not just in AI gaining power, but in humans becoming increasingly dependent on it, losing our ability to think, feel, and act with independence and compassion. If we are not mindful, this dependency may erode the essence of our humanity. This mirrors the Buddhist teaching that all that we are is the result of what we have thought, reminding us that the tools we create are reflections of our inner intentions. If our hearts are clouded by greed, competition, and fear, the technology we give birth to may grow in that same image. In this context, Nostradamus's vision becomes less about a machine uprising and more about a spiritual warning, a reminder to stay rooted in wisdom and ethics as we navigate the digital age. With countries like the United States, China, Russia, and India racing to dominate the AI frontier, global power dynamics could shift dramatically, increasing the risk of conflict, misunderstanding, and misuse of these powerful systems. And so this prediction isn't simply about machines rising up. It's a reflection of humanity's own inner war between wisdom and ignorance, control and chaos. The Dalai Lama once said, "The real enemy is not out there. The real enemy lives within us. Anger, pride, and hatred." This holds profound relevance today. As we build machines with intelligence, let us not forget to build compassion within ourselves. Let AI be our tool, not our master. The way forward is not to resist technological growth, but to guide it with heart and intention. Let us teach our children not only how to code, but how to care, not only how to innovate, but how to live in harmony. In a world increasingly driven by data and logic, we must not abandon empathy and mindfulness. Only by marrying intelligence with ethics can we create a future that honors both progress and peace. So as we listen to the echoes of Nostradamus through time, let them not fill us with fear, but awaken within us the courage to act wisely, and to live not just with intelligence, but with wisdom. Number 2. Climate catastrophes and natural disasters. Let's dive into one of the most chilling and thought-provoking predictions from Nostradamus. Number 7 on our list. The looming threat of climate catastrophes and natural disasters. Now, imagine you're standing in a world where the very balance of nature begins to unravel, where massive earthquakes shake cities to their knees and violent tsunamis sweep away everything in their path. According to Nostradamus, 2025 could be a year marked by such intense planetary turmoil that it will feel as though the Earth itself is rebelling. He wrote about a terrifying possibility of an asteroid impact, one powerful enough to trigger global earthquakes and waves of destruction that would cross continents. Could this be a symbolic vision of humanity's neglect of the planet finally catching up with us? Or might it point to something far more literal, an actual cosmic threat we've yet to fully recognize? But it doesn't stop there. His prophecies also speak of worsening climate conditions across the globe. By 2025, Nostradamus foresaw severe storms growing stronger, temperatures soaring, and bizarre weather patterns becoming the new normal. Picture this: snowstorms blanketing North America in fierce whiteouts, volcanoes erupting once again in the icy landscapes of Iceland, and even places like India, known for its heat, being hit by thick fog and bone-chilling cold waves. Doesn't it all sound strangely familiar? From flash floods to record-breaking heat waves, many of us have already witnessed unusual and extreme weather events happening more frequently in recent years. So the question is, are we already living through the early stages of the future Nostradamus described? In one haunting verse he wrote, "The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it is seen." That line alone paints a stark picture. Lands once fertile turning to dust, while elsewhere relentless flooding drowned cities and farmlands alike. He warned that these environmental disasters would trigger a domino effect. Crops would fail, diseases would spread, and hunger would rise. Have you ever thought about how fragile our food systems really are? A flood in one region, a drought in another, and suddenly entire supply chains are broken. Nostradamus envisioned widespread famine, not only because of nature's fury, but also due to a growing population that the land can no longer sustain. Can we afford to ignore this possibility? His predictions echo ancient wisdom too. In biblical texts, calamities like famine, plague, and quakes were more than just disasters. They were seen as signs, messages even, calling people back to spiritual reflection. In the book of Deuteronomy, it's written that blessings like rain and good harvests followed obedience to divine guidance, while droughts and desolation came with turning away. Doesn't that make you wonder? If we've lost touch with something deeper, something sacred in our pursuit of progress. Prophets in the past didn't just predict doom. They pointed toward a path of change, urging people to wake up and realign with what truly matters. King Solomon once prayed for forgiveness for his people during a famine, showing that in ancient times such crises were viewed as not just punishment but also a turning point, a moment to pause, reflect, and perhaps begin anew. Nostradamus' writing might be interpreted in the same way, not simply as a warning of destruction, but as an invitation to see the signs, to act before it's too late. What lessons can we learn from ancient wisdom, that might help us navigate the storms of today and tomorrow. He also drew unsettling parallels to the Bible's apocalyptic themes. In Mark chapter 13, verse 7 to 8, Jesus speaks of wars, famines, and earthquakes, not as the end itself, but as the beginning of what he calls birth pains. This idea is powerful. Think about it. Not just destruction, but the labor before the birth of something new. Could all these hardships be the earth's way of shaking us awake? Could these predictions be urging us to not only prepare for the worst, but also to hope, to rebuild and to reconnect with nature, with each other, and with something greater? So, as we reflect on Nostradamus's visions of fire, floods, disease, and hunger, we're not just listening to dark forecasts. We're being asked to see the world with clearer eyes, to question our choices, and to consider what kind of future we're shaping. What kind of world do you want to see in 2025 and beyond? Are we heading into disaster blindly, or are we ready to shift course and write a different story together? Number 3. Global social revolutions. By 2025, could we be standing at the edge of a global social awakening? According to the prophetic writings of Nostradamus, there's a strong possibility. Among his many enigmatic forecasts, one particularly powerful image stands out: a fire igniting in the hearts of cities. For centuries, scholars and truth-seekers have tried to decode this metaphor, and many now believe it points to the rising tide of social revolutions across the world. Think about what that might mean today. In every corner of the globe, we see people standing up against inequality, voicing frustration over systems that seem to benefit only a few while leaving many behind. The gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, and tensions surrounding race, gender, and class are boiling over. When Nostradamus warned of flames in the cities, was he describing the emotional fire of frustration, the burning desire for justice, equality, and change? This prophecy resonates more than ever in a world where protests, demonstrations, and acts of civil resistance are becoming daily headlines. From the yellow vests in France to the pro-democracy movements in Hong Kong, from the global outcry for Black Lives Matter to youth-led climate protests, the pattern is clear. People are no longer willing to remain silent. Nostradamus may have envisioned this exact kind of global reckoning, a moment when the cries of the oppressed and unheard become too loud to ignore. Could it be that he foresaw a breaking point, a collective uprising against outdated power structures and unjust systems? And if so, what does that mean for us now, as we watch history unfold in real time? Some believe the new force Nostradamus hinted at wasn't just emotional or physical, but technological. In a world powered by digital tools, smartphones, and social media, change can be sparked with a single post, shared across the planet in seconds. We've seen how digital platforms have empowered grassroots movements and connected individuals across borders, allowing ordinary people to challenge the most powerful institutions. The digital age, in many ways, is a revolution of its own. Could this be the force Nostradamus envisioned? A global shift not only in how we communicate, but in how we organize, resist, and transform society? As new generations come of age with technology in hand and awareness in their hearts, it's hard not to feel we're part of something historic, even if the direction remains uncertain. Of course, not everyone agrees on the meaning behind Nostradamus's cryptic verses. His words are famously open to interpretation, and critics argue that such vagueness allows people to twist meanings to fit current events. But perhaps That's the point. Maybe these predictions aren't about precise dates or events, but about patterns, cycles of human behavior that repeat across time. In a world facing escalating climate crises, economic disparities, and political polarization, his warnings feel less like ancient poetry and more like a mirror reflecting our deepest challenges. So, how should we respond? Should we fear these revolutions or welcome them as opportunities for rebirth? History shows us that meaningful change often follows periods of turmoil. What matters is how we channel that energy. Will we let frustration consume us, or will we transform it into action grounded in compassion, wisdom, and justice? The lesson here isn't to brace for chaos, but to prepare for growth. Every revolution, whether on the streets or online, begins with a question. What kind of world do we want to create? If we dare to answer that honestly, then perhaps these predictions, instead of leaving us speechless, will leave us inspired to be the change we so deeply crave. If you've watched this far, you're already uncovering the mysteries that could shape our world in 2025. Comment below with "Future Awakened" to show you're ready to face what lies ahead with open eyes and a curious mind. Don't click away. There's still more mind-blowing predictions waiting to be revealed. Stay until the end to see which of Nostradamus's visions could impact your future. Number 4. Mars missions and cosmic events. Nostradamus, the enigmatic seer of the 16th century, didn't limit his gaze to earthly kingdoms and wars. His prophecies stretched far into the cosmos, hinting at events that feel more relevant today than ever before. One of his more cryptic verses speaks of a fiery presence in the sky and the fading brilliance of Mars, stirring interpretations that align eerily well with modern space exploration. In our era, this could be seen as a poetic foretelling of humanity's growing fixation on Mars and the broader universe, with Elon Musk and SpaceX at the forefront of this ambition. The dream of building a human colony on Mars no longer feels like science fiction. It's becoming part of our collective reality. With reusable rockets already tested and Mars missions in active planning, 2025 has been eyed as the year humanity might take its first significant step toward making life multiplanetary. This vision speaks not just to technological progress, but to something deeper, a desire to break boundaries, to reach for something greater than ourselves, and perhaps to find a new sense of purpose among the stars. Yet while the drive to reach Mars is filled with excitement and curiosity, it also invites reflection. What truly motivates us to leave Earth behind? Is it a need to escape the chaos we've created here? Or is it simply the same spark of wonder that led early humans to cross oceans and climb mountains? In today's world, where crises seem endless, climate change, political unrest, social division, the idea of a fresh start on another planet can be tempting. But escaping isn't the same as solving. As we strive toward Mars, we must ask whether we are carrying our unresolved problems with us, or whether we are growing wiser along the way. The journey to Mars can't just be physical. It must be spiritual and ethical too. If we do not cultivate harmony and mindfulness here on Earth, what kind of society will we build on another planet? Many people, especially those with spiritual beliefs, see a connection between these space-bound dreams and ancient hopes. In Christian thought, for example, there is the idea of a new heaven and a new earth, a place of peace and renewal beyond this world. Perhaps the longing to touch the stars is also a longing to reconnect with something sacred, something eternal. Nostradamus may not have had access to modern rockets or space stations, but he seemed to grasp the timeless human impulse to seek meaning beyond the visible horizon. In that way, Mars becomes more than a destination. It becomes a mirror reflecting our inner lives, our hopes, our fears, and our endless search for something more. As we stand on the threshold of this new chapter in human history, the challenge before us is not just technological, it is moral. Will we use our genius to uplift all life, or will we repeat the mistakes of the past on a new world? The cosmos may call to us, but so does the need for compassion, wisdom, and unity here and now. If we are to reach for the stars, let us also reach within. Let our pursuit of space remind us not just of what we can achieve, but of who we must become. Number 5. The age of Aquarius turns dark. Let's take a closer look at one of the most talked about predictions from Nostradamus for the year 2025, his warning about the age of Aquarius, a time many believe will be filled with growth, innovation, and a deeper spiritual awakening. According to astrology, this era, which is said to last over 2,600 years, marks a cosmic shift, a doorway to a new age where humanity could evolve into something wiser, more unified, and more connected with higher truths. It sounds promising, doesn't it? But Nostradamus offered a far more unsettling take. In his cryptic writings, he suggested that instead of enlightenment, this new age might come with a heavy toll: bloodshed, famine, widespread disease, and war. He painted a picture not of peace and progress, but of struggle and suffering, hinting that great trials could be the price of transformation. What if, rather than stepping into a golden age, we're being tested in ways we haven't yet imagined? As we look around the world today, some of the signs Nostradamus hinted at already seem eerily familiar. We've seen the devastating impact of global pandemics that reshaped everyday life, massive climate disruptions that have displaced communities, economic instability that's left many uncertain about their future, and deep social unrest that continues to challenge systems and beliefs. Could it be that these global events are part of the turmoil he predicted? His quatrains, wrapped in poetic mystery and symbolism, leave room for many interpretations, but the patterns are difficult to ignore. These verses, while centuries old, still seem to echo through the headlines of today. It leads us to wonder, are we just projecting modern fears onto old texts, or is there a deeper truth we're beginning to glimpse? This idea raises a powerful question for each of us. If the age of Aquarius truly holds both promise and peril, how do we choose to face it? Do we shrink back in fear, or do we lean into the moment with courage, awareness, and intention? Maybe the darkness Nostradamus spoke of isn't meant to be a final doom, but a call to awaken. After all, in many spiritual traditions, chaos often precedes clarity. Maybe the struggle is not just external, but also internal, a reflection of the battle between fear and compassion, selfishness and unity, ignorance and wisdom. So what can we take from this? Perhaps the real message isn't about predicting doom, but about preparing the soul. Instead of waiting for fate to unfold, we can ask ourselves, how can we be part of the light in a time of darkness? What daily choices can we make that contribute to healing rather than harm, to understanding rather than division? Nostradamus may have seen storm clouds gathering, but that doesn't mean we can't be the calm in the storm. Let this be a reminder that while we may not control the waves, We can learn to steer the ship. The lesson here is clear. Every age, no matter how dark it seems, holds the potential for growth. The true power lies not in the prediction itself, but in how we respond to it. So let's not be paralyzed by fear of the future. Let's be inspired to live with greater mindfulness, to help those around us, and to find strength not just in surviving, but in rising with compassion and purpose. What kind of world will we help create as this new era unfolds? That's the question we must carry forward. Number 6. Trump's return. Imagine living in a world full of uncertainty, where political tensions rise, economies shift, and people seem more divided than ever. Sound familiar? Well, according to interpretations of Nostradamus' centuries-old quatrains, he might have seen something just like this coming. Among his most intriguing forecasts, there's one that many believe could be pointing to the return of a powerful and polarizing leader, none other than Donald Trump. Now, think about this. What happens when a bold, unfiltered voice rises during times of deep societal unrest? Could it be coincidence or something more? Nostradamus wrote of a leader who would step forward amid chaos, someone seen as an outsider, yet able to stir strong emotions, disrupt the establishment, and command a massive following. Doesn't that description sound eerily familiar? Nostradamus didn't mention Trump by name. After all, he was writing in the 1500s, but the patterns are striking. He described a time of great upheaval, where a roaring lion or a figure of great charisma and dominance would challenge the existing order. Many interpret this as a metaphor for the rise of a leader who speaks not like a politician, but like someone who's storming the gates from the outside, just as Trump did in 2016, shifting from billionaire businessman and TV personality to one of the most talked about figures in modern political history. Now, fast forward to 2025. Nostradamus hinted that this leader would not only return, but would be the center of even greater transformation, socially, economically, and globally. It begs the question, are we heading toward a repeat of the past, or something even more disruptive? The prophecies go beyond political influence. Nostradamus speaks of economic challenges facing the giant, an entity widely believed to represent the United States. These struggles wouldn't be permanent, though. They would be followed by a chance for renewal, a rebirth of strength through intense trials. Could this mean that the storms we're facing now, rising costs, inflation, global conflict, are just the beginning of a much larger cycle? And if so, could the return of a figure like Trump be part of that transformation, for better or worse? This interpretation gains more weight when compared with the powerful imagery found in the Book of Revelation. Chapter 13 speaks of a dominant leader, often referred to as the Beast, who wields immense power for 42 months, about 3.5 years. This figure speaks with pride and draws both awe and opposition, leading many to draw parallels with real-world figures who inspire both devotion and defiance. Whether you see these passages as metaphorical or prophetic, the resemblance to Trump's rise and potential return adds an intense layer of mystery and intrigue. Is he the disruptor Nostradamus foresaw, or is this another case of history echoing patterns we've seen before? Either way, the question remains, how do we interpret such ancient predictions in a modern world that's changing faster than ever? What lessons can we learn from the past to help us face the uncertain future that lies ahead? As we stand on the brink of 2025, with political landscapes shifting and old wounds reopening, it's worth asking ourselves not just what Nostradamus saw, but what we see, and more importantly, what we choose to do with that vision. Still with us? That means you're not just watching, you're awakening. Drop "prophecy ready" in the comments to claim your place among those prepared for what's coming. The final predictions might just change how you see the future. Don't miss them. Number 7. China's military rise. One of the most unsettling interpretations of Nostradamus's cryptic verses for the year 2025 centers around the idea of China's rapidly expanding military power, a force that is shifting the balance of global influence and heightening tensions across continents. For decades, China has strategically positioned itself not just as an economic powerhouse, but also as a military contender, especially in key regions such as the South China Sea and around Taiwan. Its assertive maneuvers in these contested zones are more than displays of strength. They are calculated moves that signal a deeper ambition for global authority. This steady build-up of military presence, coupled with technological advancements and unwavering nationalistic resolve, has prompted many analysts to warn of potential large-scale conflict. The fear is not simply about two nations clashing, it's the ripple effect that could draw in alliances like NATO and escalate into a global confrontation. When we reflect on Nostradamus's cryptic prediction of a red adversary that would tremble and cause dread across vast oceans, it's difficult not to connect the imagery to the present-day situation. Red, historically associated with China, seems to tie in eerily well with these unfolding global developments. Whether coincidence or uncanny foresight, the similarities make us pause and consider whether these ancient words are finding their echo in our modern headlines. Yet beyond prophecy and speculation lies a more immediate truth. We live in a world where global events can directly impact our daily lives, our economies, our security, and even our sense of stability. The tensions between nations may seem far from our day-to-day routines, but they influence fuel prices, market shifts, and global cooperation on issues like climate change. That's why it's more important than ever to cultivate awareness, not fear, but clarity. In times like these, wisdom calls us to stay informed without becoming overwhelmed, and to seek peace in our personal lives even as the world swirls with uncertainty. This moment in history is not just about governments and armies, it's also about how we choose to live amid uncertainty. The teachings of mindfulness remind us that we don't control the actions of nations, but we do have the power to respond with calm, compassion, and perspective. Perhaps the deeper meaning behind Nostradamus's words is not to scare us, but to awaken us, to remind us that history often repeats itself when we fail to learn from the past, and that the future is shaped by the awareness we bring to the present. So while scholars continue to debate what these prophecies mean, and the media fuels both fear and fascination, we can choose to look deeper. What kind of world are we helping to create with our actions, our attitudes, and our choices each day? Are we adding to division or helping to build bridges in our own communities? The idea of a rising power causing global unease isn't new, but how we respond as individuals, families, and societies can be different this time. Let's not just watch the world change, let's contribute to a more conscious one. In a time of rising tensions, our inner peace becomes even more valuable, and perhaps that's where true strength lies. Number 8. A new world war. Let's now explore Nostradamus's eighth astonishing prediction for 2025, one that might shake you to your core. The possibility of a new world war. Imagine this. The year is 2025, and we find ourselves living in a world where tensions rise not just between two countries, but between ideologies, alliances, and global superpowers. Now, you might be wondering, how could someone who lived nearly 500 years ago foresee something so terrifyingly relevant? Well, Nostradamus, the famed 16th century French astrologer and seer, is believed to have made cryptic prophecies that many say eerily align with the events unfolding in our time. His writings hint at a catastrophic conflict that could erupt approximately 79 years after the end of World War II, bringing us to our present era, right in the shadow of 2025. Doesn't that timeline make you pause and think? What's even more compelling is how his cryptic language, once dismissed as vague poetry, now seems to mirror the global tension we witness today. Look at the state of our world. Growing hostility between powerful nations, increasing cyber warfare, deepening divisions within societies, and ongoing unrest in regions like the Middle East. Some readers of Nostradamus believe that each tremor in the earth, every shift in the political balance, and every cry from war-torn nations like Israel are not isolated events, but warning signs, echoes of a prophecy. Could it be that humanity is unconsciously marching toward another devastating global conflict, just as he predicted? Now, before fear takes hold, let's also ground ourselves in a deeper perspective. Buddhism teaches that all things arise and pass away. Strive for your own liberation with diligence. This reminds us that while external chaos may swirl around us, inner peace is always possible and necessary. Nostradamus' possible warning might not be a certainty, but a call to awareness. It might not be about predicting doom, but about inspiring us to choose a different path. Could this prophecy be a mirror reflecting our own choices back to us? Are we, as a global society, truly learning from history, or are we repeating the same patterns out of ignorance and fear? The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule." So perhaps the true antidote to this prophecy is not panic, but compassion, awareness, and a collective shift toward peace. And now I ask you, in your daily life, in your community, in your conversations, are you contributing to division, or are you planting seeds of peace? Are we brave enough to face the uncertainty of the world without giving in to the chaos within? Nostradamus may have glimpsed a shadow on humanity's horizon, but the light we bring into this moment, through kindness, mindfulness, and connection, could be what changes our fate. Maybe the question is not, will a war happen, but rather, what kind of world are we creating right now? As we move forward in this journey through his predictions, keep this in mind. Prophecies are not destiny, but invitations to awaken, to act, and to evolve. And with that, let's continue uncovering the next chapter in Nostradamus's mysterious vision for 2025. Number 9. Papal transition in the Catholic Church. One of the most intriguing predictions by Nostradamus centers around a coming change within the Catholic Church, an institution that has shaped spiritual life and global affairs for centuries. In his 1555 work, Les Prophéties, he described a time of upheaval marked by international tensions at sea, unrest among royalty, and humanitarian crises. Among those foreseen disruptions, a quiet yet profound transition in religious leadership stands out. Today, many eyes naturally turn toward Pope Francis, who, at 87 years old, has already begun to step back from demanding engagements due to health concerns, including a notable absence at the UN Climate Summit caused by a lung condition. This real-world context makes Nostradamus's vision even more compelling. His cryptic lines allude to the passing of an elderly pope and the rise of a Roman leader, also of considerable age, who will assume leadership under delicate and possibly uncertain circumstances. While this may suggest a gentle shift in roles, it could also hint at a deeper vulnerability within the Church's foundations. Could the prophecy be pointing to internal conflict, a global loss of faith in institutions, or even a new wave of scandals that shakes long-standing trust? In our current world, where many are already questioning traditional structures, this prediction feels strikingly relevant. The Church, for many, is not just a religious institution, but a moral compass, and any instability at its core naturally causes ripples far beyond Vatican walls. As we reflect on this, perhaps the deeper lesson lies not in fearing change, but in preparing ourselves to respond to it wisely. In times of uncertainty, it helps to return to personal values, compassion, integrity, mindfulness, and seek truth not just from leaders, but from within. Whether or not this prophecy comes true exactly as written, it gently reminds us of life's impermanence and the importance of staying grounded in what matters most. Number 10. British Monarchy Shake-Up. Let's dive into one of the most fascinating and talked about predictions linked to Nostradamus, the potential shake-up of the British monarchy in 2025. This one really gets people thinking, especially those intrigued by the mysteries of the past echoing into our present. The buzz centers around a cryptic verse that many believe points to the end of King Charles III's reign, a prophecy brought into the spotlight by British author and Nostradamus expert Mario Reading. He interprets the verse as referring to a king of the Isles being removed and replaced by someone who lacks the royal insignia, a king without a crown, so to speak. Could this be about King Charles? Since taking the throne, Charles has faced both scrutiny and health concerns, including a prostate cancer diagnosis that came just months after his coronation. For a man who waited nearly a lifetime to become king, the challenges he now faces are heavy. Public support, once hopeful, seems to waver, haunted by old controversies, particularly his marriage to Camilla and the shadow of Princess Diana that still lingers in the hearts of many. Some voices suggest he might choose to abdicate if his health worsens, or if the public mood shifts dramatically against him. But if Charles were to step down, who would step in? Naturally, all eyes turn to Prince William, the heir apparent. William has been steadily taking on more royal duties, earning respect for his calm, responsible demeanor. His public image, reliable, modern, and devoted, makes him a strong candidate to lead a new generation of monarchy. But here's where the story takes an unexpected twist, the kind that makes you lean in just a bit closer. The prophecy's mention of a successor without royal insignia has sparked whispers about the possibility of someone outside the usual royal mold stepping in. And yes, that includes Prince Harry. Once the cherished son of Diana, Harry's journey from beloved royal to outspoken exile in the US has been nothing short of dramatic. Despite the controversies surrounding him and Meghan, his recent return visits to the UK during his father's health scare have reopened conversations. Could he, somehow, be drawn back into the fold? Now, I want you to think about this, not just as gossip or fantasy, but as a deeper question about how we view leadership, legacy, and change. If someone without the traditional symbols of power were to take the throne, what would that say about the future of the monarchy? Are we, perhaps, witnessing a symbolic shift where royal bloodlines matter less than public trust and ancient crowns give way to a more democratic spirit? Some scholars argue that this isn't so much a literal prediction, but a metaphor. Maybe it reflects a growing conversation around whether the monarchy itself still fits in a modern world. Across the UK, younger generations are questioning the role of royals, and public interest in the institution continues to change. Could this be what Nostradamus truly saw? A fading crown, not in scandal or drama, but in the slow, quiet turning of the times? And let me tell you a story that adds another layer to all this. Back in 1936, King Edward III abdicated the throne for love, stepping down to marry Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. The world was stunned, but his younger brother, George VI, took the crown, and from his line came Queen Elizabeth II, who became one of the most revered monarchs in history. That one bold act changed everything. What seemed like chaos became destiny. So perhaps, if change does come again, it might not be the end, it might be the beginning of something new. So I ask you, what does true leadership look like in today's world? Is it wearing a crown, or is it carrying the weight of responsibility with integrity, no matter your title? Nostradamus may have written in riddles, but sometimes riddles help us ask the deeper questions we often avoid. Whether you believe in his visions or not, this prophecy stirs a conversation that's very real about who we choose to lead us and why. The message here is not to fear change, but to reflect on its purpose. Just as the monarchy has evolved over centuries, so must we evolve in how we view power, tradition, and legacy. In the end, the lesson is clear. Titles may come and go, but what truly endures is the character of the person who holds them. As we've seen, whether you believe Nostradamus was a mystic visionary or simply a master of poetic insight, his predictions continue to stir our curiosity and challenge how we view the world around us. But remember, prophecies are not set in stone. They're reflections of patterns, warnings, and invitations. The real power lies not in what might happen, but in how we choose to respond, with awareness, with compassion, and with wisdom. If you found this journey thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Journey of Wisdom. And be sure to turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos exploring deeper truths and timeless teachings that can guide us in these uncertain times. Until next time, stay mindful, stay curious, and walk gently on the path of wisdom.